Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of July. If you don't know what your Moon or Ascendant signs are, have a look in the description box. There's a link down there that will help you. And then you should go back and watch the videos for your Moon and Ascendant signs because they're going to give you a better idea of what's going on with you overall than you'll get from just your Sun sign. What do I have to say? I had a couple of things to say. Oh, thank you so much to those wonderful people who have come over and joined me on Patreon. Your support means the absolute world to me. Because I take what I do very, very seriously here. Like, this is not just something that I do for, shits and giggles. I put a lot of myself into this, and so when other people see the value of what it is that I create, that's a big thing for me. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. What else? Oh, 7th of July marks a full year since I started on YouTube. And I want to do a live stream to celebrate, have a little online party. I'm not going to do it on the 7th because that's a Tuesday and that's a rubbish night for a party. So we're going to do it on a Sunday instead because, I'm a bit old for actual parties. I haven't got the staying power that I used to have. Who am I kidding? I've never had any staying power. So I'm going to do it on Sunday the 5th of July instead. I am going to do some card readings, but it'll be limited to like one question, one card answer, just so that we can get through as many people as possible. And I'm going to run a competition, give away some stuff. I'll have a dig around and see what I can do. So if you fancy joining me, I would love to have you. And yeah, that's scheduled already, so it's like this 7 o'clock for me in England on the evening of the 5th of July. Obviously it'll be in the afternoon if you're in the States. So, deck that we're using for you today is the Druidcraft Tarot, which is odd because I haven't used this for a reading for some time, but it was the one that wanted to be used, so that's what we're going to go with. Just get ready and see what is going on for you, Cancer. It's good job I've got hands like spades because these cards are enormous, so don't know if I'm going to be able to float by this. Right, do you know what? Do 5 shuffles and then we're going to take 3 cards from the top. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and fuck's sake, man. 1. Right. Recent past. We have the Chariot. I like that. That's you, Cancer. Awesome. In your present energy, we have the King of Cups. Exceptional. And what's coming towards you in July is the King of Pentacles. Oh, I love this for you. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Four of Swords. And I really, really like that. Followed by the King of Swords. You've got kings coming out of your fucking ears. This is awesome. Oh, I'll take this off. Get a bit warm. So let's get some clarifiers and then we'll see what this is all about. But I love it for you already. We're going to use the Lost Forest deck to clarify. Interesting. Oh, itchy nose. So, tell me about the Chariot. Where's the Chariot? King of Cups. Where's the Chariot? Ooh, and the Knight of Swords. I like that. What about the King of Cups? King of Cups. Where's the King of Cups here? Fucking hell. Right. Oh, we've got the Three of Cups. And the Seven of Skies. Okay, interesting. Ooh. And where's the King of Pentacles here? Cancer, please. It's the Chariot dropped out there again. Got the Fool, I love it. Really? Two of Swords in reverse. I really like that for you. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Wheel of Fortune, and I love this. So, followed by the Four of Wands. Now, just to explain the shadow cards, the Four of Swords that you've got on the bottom of this deck here, that talks about, for me, it talks about a level of detachment, like kind of pulling back from a situation and looking at it properly. Like, we can often see it in terms of rest and recovery after a broken heart, following as it does from the Three of Swords. But this, it feels more like kind of taking a step back and looking at your situation and going, contemplating it, right? I seem to recall the last couple of reads that I've done for you have been about changing things in your life that you're not happy with anymore. You know, like, you might never have been happy with them actually, but you're feeling empowered to do something about them now. Now, in order that you can do that properly, you do need to take a step back and you do need to take stock of everything. And it seems like this is what you've been doing, right? It's backed up by the King of Swords. So you're taking a very rational and reasoned approach forwards. It's coming from a very logical place rather than an emotional reactive place, which is good. Right? This is active rather than reactive energy, and I really, really like that. The Wheel of Fortune here, this is my teaching moment card, right? What you're going through at the moment is something that was kind of written into your journey. It was a lesson that you were supposed to learn in order that you might, you know, graduate from this level and go to a next one, right? There's something quite fundamental about the way that you do things that has shifted recently, and I hate that one. I actually hate that one. I don't hate anyone. It's my neighbour, he's very noisy. You're feeling empowered to make changes now in a way that you haven't before, right? So, the first card you've got is the Chariot, right? And this is in your recent past. This card, as well as being the card of Cancer, is everything to do with the self. And this is why I'm really, really pleased to see this, because it talks about duality and it talks about balance. You notice we've got two horses here in opposing colours. It's a card of victory, and it's a victory of moving forwards under your own steam, right? In a direction that you choose, because you have balanced out the opposing, you know, polarities in your mindset, right? It's kind of like taking ownership of everything, right? There's nothing that can broadside you. You get your energy aligned and running in a straight line, and you can go forwards at actually quite a pace. And this is what you were doing last month. I saw that very, very clearly. It's self-governance, self-discipline, self-everything. And when I talk about the self, I mean with a capital S, you know. It's like you got your shit together in quite an impressive way, Cancer. You really got on top of not only what it is to be you, but everything to do with the way that you live your life is being taken control of now, and it's all coming from you, directly from you. Now, the cards that underpin this, the clarifiers, are the King of Oceans, which is the King of Cups, and the Knight of Skies, which is the Knight of Swords, right? So, it's Scorpio energy and Gemini energy, but I don't really feel like that's important. What's important is the fact that you are mastering your own emotions. I mean, we see that almost implied by the Chariot. But what you have managed to achieve in the last, certainly in the last month, but this has probably been building actually for several months now, is losing this reactive energy, or even, you know, refusing to react, kind of retreating into your shell and not playing, you know, because of some emotional trauma that you were suffering, right? Whether this is at the hands of somebody else or just events getting too much for you, you know, you take it as it resonates to you, but you've got on top of it. And this is huge for you. It's absolutely huge. We've got the Knight of Skies here. I just want to pull another card for that, because the Knight of Skies, as well as being the card of Gemini, it talks about movement, but it tends to be in communication because it's swords we got here. We've got the Sun and the Wheel of Fortune again, right? So this was a really, really important lesson for you to learn. Like, again, Wheel of Fortune twice. We're not dicking about here, right? Whether you realise it or not, and I feel for the most part, most of you will realise this because you feel the changes that are happening in your life. Right? The things that you've managed to get on top of, the things you've managed to sort, and the way that you are conducting everything now is markedly different to how it was this time last year, right? That's progression. That's great. But actually what I'm seeing here is a bit of a feedback loop, right? And this is what you were struggling with, right? Maybe this time last year, particularly, you were struggling with it, right? Just take a second to look at that, right? Look how dark this Knight of Skies is, right? This Knight of Swords. It looks like a troubling thing, right? The swords talking about communication, so, you know, how we talk to other people, how other people talk to us, but more importantly, sometimes how we speak to ourselves, internally expressing our own thoughts and our thought patterns and all that kind of thing. It's almost like there was a part of you that, when you let it, would kind of err to the negative, right? Kind of difficult thought patterns that kept you trapped, and it feels like you've broken free of that, right? Because what we've got there, you see how they're back to back, right? And they're going in opposite directions. It's like you managed to align it, right? You can hold those bits of you that kind of err towards the darker side of things, right? And not be pulled into a stricken mindset, yeah? Like, everything's really hard, I have to work really hard, I have to do this, I have to do that. You know, like this internal pressure that was building for a while. And what you were doing was spending a lot of time kind of blaming yourself, I think, for notions of, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or, you know, I'm obviously just lazy because I'm not getting all of these things done. You know, like, this is it's felt like quite a triggered mindset, constantly waiting for the lions to attack, and actually somehow you found the strength to step back from it, view everything objectively, and see that actually a lot of those lions were just in your mind, like you were expecting them but they never came. And by shifting the way that you think about things, it's made a huge difference and allowed you to mentally relax. I've got this feeling, you know, and that space that you've made in your mind now, where you are not consumed with, you know, dark thoughts, is actually allowing you to be a bit more creative in the way that you deal with situations. It's certainly taking some of the pressure off, right? This was your lesson. This is what you were supposed to learn. And prioritizing your own happiness, because I think that is something that you've really struggled with, but now you see the value of, because not only are you just happier generally, but you're actually more productive, and you are able to institute these changes that you've been looking to make for a long time but didn't really know how. I won't say effortlessly, but it's actually cost you less than you thought it would, right? It's proven to be easier than you thought it would be, and I love that. Right. So the next card that you've got is the King of Cups, and this is your present energy, and this is, again, this emotional mastery, which has been so important for you to learn. There's a great feeling of contentment with this particular king as well. You know, it's taking pleasure in the small things, but it's also taking pleasure in your own peace. Because I think for a significant proportion of you, while peace has been the thing that you've been hankering after, you've also in some way associated it with a lack of productivity or some sort of failing on your part. You know, if you weren't busy and doing all the time, then in some way you were letting yourself down. And like this King of Cups is actually that you kind of reverse that, and you now understand that actually that isn't true at all, and your own peace, your own harmony, your own emotional stability is something that is critically important to not only whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you run your own business or something like that, you know, like that, you will see the benefits there too. But it's just makes life so much more pleasant to be a part of. You know, there's real contentment on this dude's face, and I really, really like that. Now, the clarifiers for this are the 3 of Cups and the 7 of Swords. Now, I think that's quite interesting because this feels like an assessment of your friendships, right? You've done some work on you, you've done some work on your immediate environment, on all the pressures and the stresses that you were experiencing in there. And I think now that you're starting to turn your attention towards your friendship group, right? I'm going to pull another couple of cards for that. That's 7 of Skies, please. Yeah, we've got a bit of conflict going on here. Oh no, 7 of Skies. Yeah. So the 7 of Swords talks about deception, and it talks about potentially underhand behaviour. Sometimes it can talk about taking a risk, but I don't see that here, right? I'm feeling this kind of things not being quite the way that you thought it was with your friendship group, because here we've got 5 of Wands and the King of Swords, and it's like you're looking at it, and I feel like this is probably based on social media quite hard, to be honest, because we've got this King of Swords here. And it's almost like, look at the King of Swords, right? He's sat on his throne. And rather than being detached, like he often is, like we usually see the King of Swords depicted by himself, he is actually in a crowd of people. He is a she in this card. In the Triple Goddess, all of the traditionally male characters are depicted by women, apart from the Emperor. So here, all the kings are female as well, right? He's educating younger, less experienced people than himself on something, right? He has a talent for expression and conveying ideas and new ways of seeing things that is really, really valuable, and comes from, you know, your innate intelligence and your innate, you know, mastery of your own emotions, but your ability to be able to put things in a way that people understand, right? There's a real educating kind of thing here. When you combine it with the 5 of Wands, it's like there are conflicts and disruptions occurring in your friendship group that you are able to kind of step back objectively from, educate people about why they're wrong, right? But this is kind of only really on the face of it. Behind that, and this is quite important, behind that, you are objectively assessing the friendship group that surrounds you and seeing for the first time ways in which it is toxic that you had not really noticed before, or maybe you'd put up with it before because you didn't think it was a big deal, because as a Cancer you tend to subjugate your own feelings in favour of everybody else's, right? But with this sense of self that you are now developing, with this ability to occupy your space, and because you value your own harmony, like you're seeing the red flags, you're seeing the toxic behaviour, and you're like, So judging quietly these people and probably making decisions about who you are going to cut out in future, right? I'm going to have a little less to do with that person, because actually some of the things that they've, you know, some of the characteristics that they've displayed in the last month or so are not elements that I want in my life going forwards, right? And just kind of slowly step away from them. It's really good. It's a good thing. So, what's coming towards you in July is the King of Pentacles, and I really, really like this for you, because it's another layer on this level of organisation that I feel like you are undertaking in your life. Like I called one of your videos, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, Life Overhaul, and it felt like that's what you were doing, right? And where you are sorting out all the little things, and you're kind of getting all of your ducks in a row, and you're aligning your energy, and you're coming up with a plan about how you want to move forwards, because the King of Pentacles always has a plan. Like he doesn't expect instant results. This is the thing with the King of Pentacles. He is quite prepared to plant a seed and then spend 25 years nurturing that to make it a tree, right? That factors into his plan. It's the card of Taurus. But he understands the benefit of the home and the family, and this man really values his peace far more so than, say, the King of Wands might. He would find peace quite difficult, I think, a little frustrating. This man builds a hearth and a home, takes responsibility because he wants to show up, right? It's part of who he is and it's part of who you are now. But he creates this nurturing environment that is peaceful, that is relaxed, and that is ultimately successful, right? Because whether this refers to your home or your business or your work, whatever it is, right, there's a plan underway here. And I love the fact that you've gone straight for the king. There's no messing about with the lower order of court hierarchy here. This is absolutely going to the top, right? So it is absolutely, by default, planting a seed that will grow into a big tree at some point in the future. It's clarified by the Fool and the Two of Swords in reverse, and I love this. Because the Fool is the card of a new start, right? A fresh slate, tabula rasa, right? It's about moving forwards with very little baggage, and what you have been doing over the last month, 2 months, is sifting through what makes Cancer Cancer, and seeing what is useful, what is valuable, what gives you peace, what gives you anxiety, and kind of sifting, right? Go, I don't want that. That gives me anxiety, I don't want that, right? This person's toxic, I don't want to take that forwards. Doing this thing takes up too much of my time, I actually want to be doing this instead, right? Getting very fucking discerning about how you let your energy out into the world, because ultimately, wanting to be of service, which Cancer does to those people, is how you express your love, is to be of service to, you know, whoever it is. It quite often leaves you in a state of overgiving over and over again, and quite often to people who don't really deserve it, right? The lack of reciprocity is quite often stunning when you've got someone who wants to give but potentially doesn't understand their own value, doesn't have the right boundaries in place. You attract to you people who want others with no boundaries and want people who will just give and give and give with no reciprocity, right? You firmed up everything, right? And it all comes down to this desire for peace, your own personal peace. It's becoming more valuable to you than anything else, right? But because you're sifting out all of the things that are pinning you down, all of the things that made your soul feel heavy and tethered, it's allowing you to move off under the moon, which is a symbol that is, for me, representative of Cancer. Right? I'm skipping off on a new path, no baggage. And then we've got this Two of Swords in reverse. Now, this way around, I don't really like this card very much because it talks about trying to make intellectual decisions about things, like without consulting that, which for me is very important, which is your intuition and your emotional state, right? Trying to make that purely intellectual decision about something that is essentially exactly the same. The interesting thing with that is that I often think the reason that somebody is deliberately not consulting those things, I noticed I've got the moon at the bottom of the deck here, is because if they did, the decision would be made, right? But for whatever reason, they don't want to make that decision. So they kind of step their emotions back from it, step their intuition back and go, no, I will decide purely the validity of my options purely on the weight of these swords and these swords only. And they're basically fucking identical, right? Because what's the important thing is about your emotional state, how you're approaching it, that kind of thing. The fact that it's come out in reverse, I really, really like, because that means that you are not in this energy anymore. It feels very decisive, right? You're making very clear decisions about what you want from your life, what you want from your home, what peace looks like to you, and how you achieve it. And there's no guilt here. None. It's like this lesson that you learned, you've learned really well, Cancer. And don't underestimate just what a big leap this is from where you were last year. I don't know if any of you have really sat and considered where you were this time last year compared to where you are now. But you've done good. For you, ultimately, it's been about losing that scattered feeling, you know, stretched too thin in all fucking ways, on all fucking fronts. Like, you're seeing the value of pulling that energy back to you, because ultimately that does actually empower you to help those people that you really want to help even more, right? Because you're not a shade of yourself, you know, it's fucking stretched so thin that you're almost translucent, always trying to give, and always trying to give to those people who will never give back. Well, that's 2 swords in reverse, please. 4 of cups in reverse. That's interesting. So many cards that have flipped there, and I feel like they're all relevant. You know, we've got the King of Pentacles again. We've got the Queen of Pentacles as well, and she very much talks about how you value yourself, right? Seeing your own self-worth, your own value. She's kind of like the internal aspect of, you know, of this energy, which then externally expresses about creating that space around you, which is peaceful, which is warm, you know, that you're willing to put the effort into. We've got the 10 of Cups, right? The priority that you are giving right now to emotional peace is exactly right. And I love the fact that there's no guilt about it. So so we've got the 7 of Cups, we've got the Ace of Cups, and we've got the 10 of Pentacles, along with 4 of Cups in reverse. Now, this way round, this card talks about, it can talk about rejection, it can talk about taking things for granted, or being taken for granted, potentially, or missed opportunities. When it's this way round, it's like you're not missing opportunities for everything, because you're not toing and froing over ideas. Like, you're being very decisive, because it doesn't really matter if you don't have an end goal as yet, right? If you haven't got that idea, because you know how it feels, right? You know roughly how you want to feel in the future. So just because you have not at this point decided, right now, yeah, my business needs to do X, Y, and Z, or, you know, whatever, you're moving towards the feeling of contentment, the feeling of peace, and at this moment, pulling out of your life those things that don't give that to you, right? Not missing opportunities to refine and hone what it is to be Cancer in this 3D environment at the moment. And then we've got the 7 of Cups, the Ace of Cups, and the 10 of Pentacles. Now, we're back to this notion of life overhaul again, because the 7 of Cups is about, you know, sometimes it can be a card of illusion, but it is a card of having lots of choices, right? You see this woman here, she stood in front of a shop window, and she's kind of looking at everything. She's like, it's quite a lot to do here. And remember, it's Cups, so it's about emotions, right? This is your thing now. This is your bag, baby, right? And she's kind of looking at everything that she's got emotional investment in and going, well, do I want to keep this? Do I want to throw that away? Do I want to buy more of those kind of cups? You know, what do I want to do here? But ultimately, always coming from a place of your own stability, your own security. You know, it's a very responsible attitude that you're taking right now. And it's, you know, followed swiftly by this Ace of Cups. Like, I think that you are really starting to like yourself now, Cancer, right? More than that, you're really starting to understand your own value and love yourself a little bit. Like, being your own best friend is what I'm seeing here, right? There's a lot more of a sense of forgiveness and compassion towards yourself than you have displayed at any other point ever, Cancer. Like, last year, I don't remember whether it's July or August, like, I was quite worried about you as a sign, because I could see you kind of disappearing into a big knot of anxiety and worry, right? And most of it, to be honest, was misplaced, because you were over investing in people that did not deserve, actually, to have you do that, right? Pulling it all back to you. And you've got this beautiful shiny cup here, being your own best friend. And you've got the 10 of Pentacles. So this is about your stability and security, right? Being committed to the life that it is that you want now, not the life that other people tell you that you want, or what is left over for you in life after you have enabled every other fucker in your environment to have a nice time, right? Because usually what's left over isn't very fucking much, and you've just been, you kind of took the scrapings of it and went, oh, okay, this is mine, it's fine. You deserve more than that, and you're starting to see that you deserve more than that, and it's really, really important, because it's been a really, really long journey for you, but I see equilibrium being achieved, right? I see peace and harmony being achieved. I see a sense of such contentment and legacy going on with you here. It's like you've had, I know that I called the video like life overhaul, but this is a total internal overhaul, right? Those things that used to be important to you are not now important, you know? You're really clear about what is important. And you've been able to cross off maybe 80% of the things that you were worrying about last year because they're just not relevant anymore. You kind of see it, you've grown. So I'm going to leave it there, Cancer. I am doing an extended. I'm just going to go and do that straight away now. So if you're interested in that, if this has resonated, there'll be a link in the description box and you can come over to Vimeo and see that. But if not, if this is where we part ways, then that's all cool also. And I will see you in about a fortnight for the mid-month readings. All right, take care.